Vivo is continuing its push into the online-only space with a new budget model, the Vivo U10. Now, there's no shortage of companies trying to compete with each other by offering better processors, cameras, batteries, and even better design in the sub 10,000 rupee market. This is where every little extra feature that you can get for your money really counts. Vivo is trying to set itself apart with a combination of features that we haven't really seen at this price point, and that includes a Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 processor, 5000 mAh battery, 18-watt fast charging, and 3 rear cameras. But a phone isn't just the sum of its specifications, so here's our full review. Before we go ahead, please do remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and click the bell icon so that you're notified of all our new videos. The Vivo U10 is somewhat bulky and boxy with a flat rear but rounded sides. This phone is definitely a handful and some people might find it too unwieldy for everyday use. Our review unit is the electric blue variant, which of course has a bold gradient and pattern on the back. The finish of the rear isn't slippery at all, which does help with usability. If you prefer something low-key, this phone is also available in plain black. There's a water drop notch at the top of the screen and a pretty thick chin below it. Our test unit came with a pre-applied plastic screen protector. The rim around the sides of the phone has a shiny, color-coordinated finish. The camera module is surrounded by a gold metal rim, but thankfully doesn't stick out very much. The fingerprint sensor doesn't require too much of a stretch to reach. There's a micro USB port, a 3.5mm audio socket, and a speaker on the bottom. Vivo seems to have used decent quality plastics for the construction of this phone, and it should be able to withstand some level of rough treatment, though we did start to notice tiny surface scratches on the rear after a while. There's also no guarantee of toughness or mention of reinforced material that might help if this phone were to fall. As for its specifications, we start with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 SoC, which is a very recently launched chip and also powers the Realme 5, a competitor to this phone in the sub 10,000 rupee market. This means that performance should be impressive for the price. The 6.35-inch screen has an HD Plus resolution of 720 by 1544 pixels, and Vivo has used an IPS panel. There's dual-band Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 5, GPS, and all the usual sensors including a compass and gyroscope. The battery capacity is 5000 mAh and, as we said earlier, 18-watt fast charging is a headlining feature. The tray on the left has slots for 2 nano SIMs as well as a micro SD card. You have 3 choices of configurations: 3GB of RAM with 32GB of storage for 8,990 rupees, 3GB of RAM with 64GB of storage for 9,990 rupees, and 4GB of RAM with 64GB of storage for 10,990 rupees. We're reviewing the top-end version of this phone. As for software, we have Vivo's FunTouch OS 9.1 running on top of Android 9. FunTouch OS deviates extensively from the stock Android look and feel, and this is sure to be a polarizing factor for buyers and users. There's now a system-wide dark mode, but not much else is new. You have to swipe upwards from the bottom of the screen to pull up all the quick shortcuts and toggles, and even then the layout is confusing. Some of the animations are a bit slow, which can be annoying. For example, there's a slight delay after unlocking the phone before the Android navigation buttons slide up into view. However, FunTouch OS does have a lot of useful features, including screen recording, app cloning, gestures, shortcuts, and a bike mode. The large size and HD resolution of this display mean that text was not as crisp as we would have liked. It can get very bright, and we had no complaints with the colors or viewing angles. Video looks great, and this phone is Widevine L1 DRM compliant for HD video streaming. Apps might take a moment or two to load fully, but that's the only kind of lag we experienced. PUBG Mobile surprised us by defaulting to the low graphics quality preset, and the visual quality was sorely lacking. The upper rear barely got warm, which was good. Asphalt 9 Legends was playable, but we did see some stuttering. Battery life was truly impressive. We sailed through a full day with quite a bit of gaming and camera use. At night, we still had over 40% left. We could easily get a day and a half from a single charge, and careful usage could see that stretch to 2 full days. Our HD video loop test ran for 17 hours 58 minutes. On the other hand, despite Vivo shipping an 18-watt charger in the box, we only saw the battery level rise to 8% in 10 minutes and 61% in an hour. The cameras of the Vivo U10 were just about okay for a budget phone. On the back of the device, we have a 13-megapixel primary camera and an 8-megapixel wide-angle one, both with f2.2 apertures. There's also a 2-megapixel depth sensor and a flash. The front camera is an 8-megapixel f1.8 unit. Close-ups shot under sunlight did come out looking good with reasonably good detail and exposure. There was no jarringly artificial color and HDR seemed to work well. The wide-angle camera also produced good results without much distortion. Things went downhill at night though. Details were blotchy and dull. Focusing took a while, and even then there was no guarantee it would be accurate. Even close-ups could be hard to manage in low light. Videos recorded at 720p by default, which surprised us a little. You can manually go up to 1080p. There doesn't seem to be any form of stabilization, and our clips were shaky to say the least. We noticed warping at the edges of wide-angle video and a yellowish color tone. Video taken at night was barely usable at all. The front camera does a decent job in the daytime and in low light, though again things aren't great. You might just about be able to share some of these shots on social media. It seems as though going online only has allowed Vivo to deliver some seriously competitive hardware in a very tight budget. The Vivo U10 performs admirably and looks pretty slick. We often felt as though we were using a phone that was in a higher price bracket. On the other hand, it's bulky and awkward to use with a UI that we really think needs to be toned down. The main selling points of this phone, which are its 3 rear cameras and 18-watt fast charging, do seem pretty impressive when you read about them on paper, but in practice the cameras are just about serviceable and charging still takes a long time. We like the Vivo U10 for its general performance and its battery life. The display and the look of this phone are also pretty good considering its price. However, overall you can do better, especially if you're budgeting for the higher end variants. Thanks for watching our review of the new Vivo U10. For more videos and reviews like this, of course, do visit us at gadgets360.com.